If you've been spending your nights tweaking keywords just to get ghosted by an algorithm, I want you to stop for a second. Put the mouse down. Take a breath. You aren't failing the system. The system has already moved on to a game you weren't invited to play. I know the feeling. You've spent hours perfecting your bullet points, matching the job description word for word, and hitting apply with that tiny spark of hope. And then, nothing. Not even a rejection email. Just silence. Here's the reality that nobody in HR wants to say out loud. 83% of global companies are now using AI to screen your resume before a human even knows you exist. That's up from less than half just a few years ago. And here's the kicker. 70% of those employers have their systems set to auto-reject candidates before a recruiter ever sees the application. Think about that for a second. You're playing a game of Battle of the Bots, where the machine on their end is literally designed to find a reason to say no, so the human recruiter doesn't have to do the work. It's no wonder that 22% of people who started their job search last year are still looking 12 months later. They're following the old wisdom: optimize your keywords, climb the ladder, be a good soldier. But that ladder is leaning against a wall that's being demolished. So if the traditional resume is a dead end, what is this secret league of experts doing? Why am I seeing people quietly quit their $180,000 corporate jobs to get headhunted for $400,000 as oracles? Let's talk about what's actually going on. I want to introduce you to a term that is currently terrifying the biggest tech companies in the world. It's called model collapse. See, for the last couple of years, AI has been training on everything we've ever written on the internet. But now, the internet is becoming flooded with AI-generated content. When an AI starts training on its own synthetic data, it begins to lose its mind. It loses variety, it starts to hallucinate, and eventually, it becomes a coherent mess. Research published in Nature found that after just 10 generations of training on synthetic data, these models effectively collapse. They lose the spark. And that, my friend, is where you come in. Suddenly, your messy, non-replicable human intuition, the stuff you've learned from 15 years of actually doing the work, has become the most expensive fuel on the planet. Companies are realizing they don't just need more output. AI can generate output for free. What they are desperate for is human freshness. They need what we call ground truth verification. They need someone who can look at a 5,000-word strategy produced by an AI and say, this part is brilliant, but this part right here, this will bankrupt the company in 6 months. We are seeing a massive shift in value. Pre-IE, you were paid for your output volume, how much work you could produce. Post-IE, you're paid for your logic, how accurately you can verify what is true and what is a hallucination. When I first saw this data on model collapse, it honestly changed how I think about my entire career. I realized that my value isn't in my ability to write a report. It's in my ability to correct the machine that wrote it. Now let that sit for a second. Your intuition isn't a soft skill anymore. It's the only thing the machines can't manufacture. So how are people actually turning this into a $400,000 career? They're making what I call the Oracle pivot. They aren't looking for jobs in the traditional sense. They are selling their ground truth logic as a high-tier service. Look at platforms like Scale AI or Outlier. They have created these elite networks where subject matter experts in law, STEM, and medicine are being paid $150 an hour just to sit there and tell an AI why its legal reasoning or its physics calculations are wrong. These aren't entry-level roles. These are people with deep expertise who are making $300,000 a year on a fractional, flexible schedule. But the real money is in the fractional CAIO, the Chief AI Officer. I'm seeing elite tech leads and industry veterans quitting Google and Meta to serve as oracles for 3 or 4 mid-sized firms simultaneously. Instead of one $200,000 salary with all the corporate politics and endless meetings, they are commanding $100,000 per client to spend 5 hours a week auditing their AI logic. Their total compensation is hitting $400,000 or $450,000, and they have 80% less administrative overhead. These subject matter oracles command a 45% premium over traditional senior management. Why? Because if a billion-dollar company builds its future on a hallucinating AI, the cost of failure is catastrophic. They aren't paying you for your time. They are paying you for the insurance that their logic is sound. Here's where it gets really interesting. The hiring velocity for these oracle roles is 3 times faster than standard corporate titles. While the average time to fill for a regular role has stretched to 52 days, these specialized experts are being snatched up in a week. This isn't just a trend, it's the new gold rush. And the best part, you don't need a new degree. You just need to stop being a user of the tools and start being the editor of the logic. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't AI supposed to replace the experts? It's actually the opposite. We are seeing a human-in-the-loop explosion. Josh Bersin, one of the most respected voices in HR, said something recently that really stuck with me. He said that in an era where AI agents handle 75% of the work, the human value add becomes the only competitive advantage left. Think about that ratio. If 75% of the production is automated, that last 25%, the judgment call, the ethical check, the gut feeling that something doesn't look right, is where 100% of the value resides. This is why human-in-the-loop specialists are currently the #1 fastest growing job category on LinkedIn. Companies are tired of the battle of the bots. They know that candidates are using AI to write resumes, and they are using AI to screen them. It's a loop of synthetic noise. What hiring managers are desperately looking for, what they would kill for, is gold standard intuition. They want the person who can prove the gatekeeper is wrong. In 2026, your value isn't how much you can produce. AI does that for free. Your value is how accurately you can tell the AI exactly when and why it's wrong. When you stop trying to beat the ATS and start positioning yourself as the person who validates the results, the entire dynamic changes. You go from being a beggar at the gate to being the consultant the company needs to survive. So, let's get practical. How do you actually rebuild your career around this Oracle secret starting this week? I want to give you a 3-step blueprint that I've seen work for people I mentor. First, start what I call a logic log. Stop just doing your tasks and start documenting the why behind your decisions. When you make a judgment call that an AI couldn't make, write it down. The data suggested X, but because I know the nuances of this industry, I chose Y. This log becomes your evidence of human freshness. It's your proof that you aren't just a commodity user. Second, pivot your LinkedIn profile. Most people have profiles that list output. I manage this. I built that. Change it to verification expertise. Use phrases like ground truth auditor or AI logic validator. Show that you are the one who ensures the gold standard of work in your field. Third, and this is the most important one, stop optimizing for keywords. Start optimizing for human-in-the-loop roles. Look for companies that are specifically investing in AI performance bonuses. Global HR budgets for these performance-linked bonuses have increased by 3.5% this year alone. They are literally setting aside money for the people who can make their AI smarter. Now, this next part is the part that changes everything. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to be an AI expert in the technical sense. You just need to be an expert in your field who knows how to spot a lie. The market isn't shrinking, it's just getting pickier about the truth. This isn't easy. It requires you to step out of the comfort zone of being an employee and into the mindset of an authority. But the people who figure this out, they're the ones getting the $400,000 calls while everyone else is still waiting for a callback. You have the intuition. You have the years of ground truth in your head. It's time you started selling it as the high-octane fuel it is. Go give them your truth. I'll be here if you need to talk more.